I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the tragic mass murder of 4 University of Idaho students. The killer was caught, prosecuted without a trial, but now the public body cam video has been released, and it's answering many questions. Here's the story. On the frigid night of November 13th, 2022, in the college town of Moscow, Idaho, 4 promising students were brutally slain in a crime that shattered the peace of a sleepy campus. Inside their off-campus rental home, Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen were attacked in bed, their lives stolen in a vicious assault. On the floor below, Chapin and Xana Kernodle met the same fate. Xana believed to have fought back with her last dying breath. The killer moved with eerie silence, bypassing 2 other roommates who survived the night, unaware of what had happened to their roommates. By the time help was called, the sun had already risen on a house soaked in horror. Panic gripped the town. Weeks passed before a 28-year-old criminology PhD student was arrested, linked by DNA on a knife sheath left behind. The killer has admitted to his crimes and has been sentenced to life, but now there's new insight into what happened as the responding officer's public body cam video has finally been released. And that is going to be our focus throughout this hour, is taking a look at that video. Now, there are some redactions throughout where they will mute the audio or they will block the screen with black, but that's, you know, to protect things that you don't want to show or things that shouldn't be shown. But we get a much better idea of what was happening that morning and what happened inside that home. So joining me to help us walk through this video is Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. And Cody, I know you've gone through every frame of all of this. What are you going to show us first here?
Well, Vinny, this beginning portion of the video, of course, this is the initial arrival of Officer Mitchell Nunez with the Moscow Police Department. Now, he arrives just minutes after that 911 call is made. He actually arrives right at noon on the morning of November 13th of 2022. Now, you see him walk into the house. He walks past the surviving roommates and the friends who are standing outside. But once he arrives inside the house, he encounters a boy, or a man, I should say, by the name of Hunter Johnson. Now, Hunter Johnson was one of 2 friends that the surviving roommates called to come check out the house that morning before they actually called police, and he's one of the 2 friends that actually discovered the deceased bodies. Now, keep in mind, Vinny, these officers were responding to what they thought was an unresponsive, passed-out roommate that may have had one too many the night before to drink and was just not responsive this morning. And, of course, to Officer Nunez's surprise, he came across the first 2 victims stabbed on that 2nd floor. We know that was Xana Kernodle and Chapin. That's the first room that he goes into after being directed by Hunter Johnson. And after that, he walks back outside. He sets the crime scene with the crime scene tape. He comes back in with his backup to clear the house. And during that clearing, Vinny, is when he and the other officers discover Kaylee Goncalves and Maddie Mogen on that top floor. And again, before we roll the tape, just want to remind our viewers, you will see some redactions, some full black screens, some drops in audio. There's nothing wrong with your televisions. That's just part of the raw footage that we are about to play right now.
Where's she at?
Yes,
Where at? Up here?
Up here. We got a call from Madison that someone threw looking normal. And I just came in, checked in here, and this is what I just found. And I checked to see if she was breathing, and I didn't check her yet, but I'm pretty sure.
13. Okay, get back.
I don't know if you're still in here or not. I really just came in here. I grabbed the knife. They're like
1370.
This is the knife right now.
Okay, stay back there, please.
slow down.
Just come here. There's two. Looks like fatalities. Okay, all right.
Called me this morning to check the
Okay. Nobody's allowed to leave for now, okay? Just stay here for me, please. Do you know the... Here, can you guys go over to the dumpster for me, please? Okay, let's clear it. Thanks for... Put it over here. I'll just start down here. Police department. Police department.
Moscow Police Department, if you're in here, announce yourself. Moscow Police Department.
Clear here. Going up.
There.
Police department.
We're on third floor, coming up.
We got another.
Moscow Police Department.
Dude. We're clear. Let me secure the outside first. So.
Do the front door.
There's the back entry. I was going to start taping it all off.
Brian's taping the outside off.
Okay.
Where's the other?
There's two right here. I got in there. Shut the door in there. Check with the prints.
And Vinnie, towards the end there, you hear the officer say something to the effect of track those prints when he walks out that back door, and you actually see some of the footprints in the light snow there on the ground. And of course, now we know that is where investigators say the killer entered and exited that house during the night of those grisly murders.
Okay. Cody Thomas is going to stick around for this hour, and we've got one question that we are asking tonight, and let's take a look. What does the newly released Idaho body cam reveal? And this is the question we're going to be trying to answer all throughout the hour. Here to help answer that question, creator and host of Grizzly True Crime on YouTube, Xana Kernodle, and former homicide detective, host of The Interview Room with Chris McDonough. Chris McDonough is with us. Thank you both. Chris, I'll begin with you as a former homicide detective. The initial response, this is, I mean, my stomach was churning watching this, and I know everything, and I was anticipating it. What are your thoughts about what it's like for those officers coming upon this scene for the very, very first time?
Well, you know, the first thing that kicks in for me, obviously, is the training aspect of this. But unfortunately for these officers, they didn't have the experience aspect. So this was, you know, quite a shock. They hadn't had a homicide in 7 years in that town. So the officers responding, as Cody had mentioned, you know, to an unconscious female. So he's in a rescue mode. And within a minute of entering that house and going up to that door, you see that young man with his hands above his head. That's given us a message, right? That message is, look, this is bigger than what we think it is. And within a minute of getting up those stairs, he has now shifted into a criminal investigation mode. Quite frankly, one of the largest in the country at that point.
Xana, what also struck me, despite the fact that there's a lot of redactions and they're dropping audio and things, you can still sense the impact this image and this scene has on these officers, just from their breathing, from their tone. How about from your perspective? What was revealed to you in this portion of the video?
I think this really humanized all this chaos and the trauma. You know, you could feel the panic and the fear and even the start of the grief as people start to realize, wait, this is something much bigger than they thought. And I think sharing this body cam, it's very, very difficult to see it, you know, to watch it for everyone who's watching it. But it's important to humanize, especially a case like this that became so popular. And there's been so many reports on it that here we get to see and kind of feel what it was like as it happened.
That's a great point. That's sort of, and I think for prosecutors, when they try a case, you know, to make it real for the jury, I think this is making it real for everyone. The other thing that this revealed to me, Chris, was the layout of this very unusual house.
Yeah, and, you know, of course, that, you know, causes one to think, you know, that the suspect know this layout. You know, I think, you know, just to critique just for a second here for a moment, you know, the officers should have shut it down by sending Hunter downstairs right away and then continued the search, because at that point, you know, they don't know if they have another suspect upstairs or if they have other victims. So, you know, when he left outside, he kind of left that other officer with, you know, Hunter, who was also in shock. And so not that I'm saying that's a big mistake, but I'm just saying that immediately they should have shut that thing down.
All right, guests are staying with us. When we come back, we're going to continue taking a look at this video and trying to answer the question, what does this video, this newly released body cam video, reveal?
Where at? Up here?
Up here. You got to call from that.
Saturday nights on ION
is our night.
Let's go! Double headers every Saturday at 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern. The new Saturday Night Out is on ION all season long.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial continues Tuesday morning on Court TV.
911. on location of your emergency?
Something is happening. Something's happening in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night.
We're taking a look at some of the newly released public body cam video from the Idaho 4 case. The responding officers. Still with us is Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas, who's gone through all the video. That was a lot that we just saw in this first section. I mean, a lot of moving parts there. What do you have for us?
Well, Vinny, as you said, a lot of moving parts. For our viewers just joining us now, we played a lengthy bit of the initial arrival of Officer Mitchell Nunez with the Moscow Police Department arriving to the King Road house after the 911 call was made. But what I want to do now, Vinny, is kind of play the highlights from that lengthy portion. And of course, we'll see again Officer Nunez's first arrival to the house where he interacts with Hunter Johnson. Hunter Johnson being one of two friends the surviving roommates called the morning of the stabbings. Before they called police, Hunter points them to Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin's room, to where the officer finds them stabbed to death. Of course, we know the officer thought he was responding to a passed out roommate call. He's in rescue mode, but now he's in criminal investigation mode. So what I want to do now is play that little portion for the viewers.
Where at?
You got us
Up here?
Up here. You got us call from the medical that someone, they're looking normal, and I just came in and checked in here, and this is what I just found. And I checked to see if she was breathing, and I didn't check her yet, but I'm pretty sure.
13. Okay, get back.
I don't know if you're still in here or not. I really just came in here. I grabbed the knife. They're like
1370.
This is the knife that I grabbed.
Okay, stay back there, please. Okay. Nobody's allowed to leave for now, okay? Just stay here for me, please. Police department.
Police department. Moscow Police Department, if you're in here, announce yourself. Moscow Police Department.
Clear here. Going up.
Clear.
Police department.
We're on third floor, going up. We got another. Moscow Police Department.
Dude.
Vinny, again, you can really hear the distress in the officer's voice and with his heavy breathing upon finding those two other deceased bodies upstairs, and Kaylee Goncalves and Mogen. Just real grisly stuff here.
All right, thanks, Cody. Let's bring back in our guest to help with our investigation, trying to figure out what we can glean from this video. Host and creator of Grizzly True Crime, Gisela Kay, and Chris McDonough from the interview room. Gisela, going back now to the layout of this house, this is the first time really we're walking through it. And to see, it's a little tighter than I thought it was inside. Even the stairwells are sort of tight, and to go from one room to the next, you turn a corner and you're there. It just seems like surprising to me that these 4 brutal murders take place and like everyone in the house isn't necessarily completely cognizant of what was happening inside there at the time, just based upon the way they're sort of walking around this house so quickly, getting from point A to point B to point C.
Yeah, I think even as we watch the police walk through, and I know a lot's redacted, the audio itself, just from what we can hear, their reaction to it and their breathing change paints this picture of disbelief. And you can almost hear their thoughts of, wait, how long ago did this happen? Or what's going on here? So it's like this surreal denial that feels to me like the theme of what's going on here, of how on earth did these 4 people get murdered? And then there's surviving roommates. And what is going on here? It's really chaotic to think of this routine college house. You can see it, twinkly lights, good vibes lights. This is our happy place signs. And they're walking through this absolute nightmare.
The other thing, Chris, again, about the interior of the house that we're seeing, it's all hardwood floors, right? And if you're in a building like that, it's like being in an apartment complex, right? And you have an apartment on top of you, and they've got hardwood floors. You hear so much more. Are you surprised that there wasn't perhaps more acknowledgement of the gravity of what was taking place in this mass murder that night by the roommates who survived and were inside at the same time?
No, but because I think everybody understood that there was a lot of intoxication on board here. So that didn't surprise me at all. And, you know, to Gazelle's description, what a great description, because literally those officers, you can feel that adrenaline going through their systems. I mean, they're breathing. But kudos to that younger officer when the gentleman was coming up the stairs, where he told them, slow down. Because at that very moment, there are going to be hundreds of decisions being made based upon that pace.
And Gisela, one other thing is just for the first time, obviously we're not seeing their faces. The faces are obscured, but just the body language of the young people outside. It's so sad. And even without seeing their faces, you can sense it and feel the utter sadness of what is going on.
Yes, it feels like when I first watched this, like raw grief and a bit of panic, but they're not sure yet. And there's some confusion and just almost, as the surviving roommate said, they almost didn't want to believe that something like this could be possible. So it took them some time, you know, to come to terms with this. Even many months after this in years, it's really, I mean, to see, you could feel the gravity of it, as you say.
Gisela K, make sure you check out Grizzly True Crime on YouTube, and then you've got to check out the interview room with Chris McDonough. Thank you both so much. Appreciate it. Up next, we're going to continue looking at this video. What does all of this newly released body cam reveal to us?
She wouldn't answer, and I saw the guy. I actually locked the door, and I ran downstairs. We don't know what's going on.
I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. The killer is locked up for life, and now, finally, the public body cam videos have been released. Here's the story. In the stillness of a November night in 2022, terror struck a quiet college town. 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were brutally murdered in their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho. Stabbed as they slept, their young lives were stolen in a crime so savage it shook the nation. There were no screams heard, no calls made until morning. 2 roommates survived the massacre, one witnessing the killer leaving. A trail of mystery and horror followed. No forced entry, no suspects, no answers. Weeks of fear gripped the campus as investigators combed through DNA, surveillance video, and digital clues. Then came a criminology PhD student arrested across the country, accused of carrying out the killings with surgical precision. A knife sheath left behind linked him to the scene, and now that killer has admitted to his crimes in court and is spending the rest of his life behind bars. And now, finally, the public recordings from the responding officers' body cameras have been released.
And joining me to help us walk through this newly released body cam video, Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, what do you have in this section of the video?
Well, Vinny, now I want to take viewers to about 10 minutes after the initial police arrival. And that is when Officer Mitchell Nunez, that's the body cam that we're watching of him, that's when he walks over to surviving roommate Dylan Mortensen. That's when he starts his initial interview with her, where we first start hearing from her. And Vinny, again, this is after the bodies are discovered. This is after the house has been cleared by police. And Dylan is standing outside of the house surrounded by some friends. And of course, she's crying her eyes out. And it's interesting, Vinny, she's standing there and it's northern Idaho in November. She's standing there barefoot in the parking lot, t-shirt on. It's very cold outside, but that just goes to show you how shocked she is, because that's the last thing she's worried about. And, you know, she's telling Officer Nunez a lot of the information that we've heard before. She's talked, plus some more, and she's talking about hearing Kaylee Goncalves scream that someone was in the house. She talks about seeing the man dressed in all black with a mask covering his forehead and his chin, only seeing his eyes. But most of all, Vinny, overall, she really talked about how terrified she was that night. Take a listen.
In the main room, this is one of the pretty much they were in the main room. I heard them dancing and laughing. Kaylee went upstairs and she screamed because someone was in the room. She ran downstairs and I kept calling her name and she wouldn't answer. And I saw the guy. I had to lock the door and I ran downstairs. We don't know what's going on.
Can you come here with me, please? How much have you seen in there?
No, I don't really know. I just saw it. I heard when I called because we were so scared. We're like, can you please come help us? And that's all I saw. I told us not to go in. That man right there. That helped show you around.
They're going there. Okay.
Yeah, and that's when he told us he needed to call the cops. I remember I was in my room and I was trying to go to bed and I heard Kaylee, who ex-girlfriend, who has the dog in her.
Real fast. Which one is your room?
Kaylee.
Which one is your room?
Oh.
What room are you in?
My room, not Xana's room. My room.
And your room is this one right here?
Next to the stairs. That one is Xana's room.
Second floor room.
Second floor.
Okay.
All I heard was I heard her go upstairs. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep now because she's going upstairs.
And you heard who go upstairs?
Kaylee and the dog Murphy.
And upstairs to the very top?
Yeah, that's where her room is.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden I heard her walking up, I heard her scream, and she ran downstairs because she saw someone. That's what I'm pretty sure she said. Someone's here, and she screamed and just ran downstairs. And I called for her name, but I jumped up and locked my door because I was so scared. And then I heard someone in the bathroom, and I heard her crying, and I heard some guy say that you're going to be okay, I'm going to help you. And I kept calling her name, but she wasn't answering. And then I opened the door for a second, and I saw this guy, and he was not insanely tall, but he's wearing all black and like this mask, which is covering his forehead and his mouth. And then I locked the door, and I called, and I didn't know what to do.
This is at 4
a.m., yes. Okay. And so then I just ran down to
you left here?
Yeah, I left my room down to she's that one with the white blinds at the very bottom. I ran down there and we talked, and we just locked the door. We didn't think anything of it. We're like, nothing happens in Moscow, so we just like tried to go to bed. And then we woke up, and it was weird because none of our roommates were up, and we called all of them. They were not waking up, and so me and like, this is weird. So I called and to come over, and then that's when all this happened.
Describe the guy that you saw.
I don't think he was a little bit taller than me, and I couldn't really see much of him, but I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit, and he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth, and he didn't say anything to me, like at all. I just shut the door and locked it because I didn't know what to do. And I think he went out like the side door, the sliding door in the kitchen that goes out to the backyard. And then I didn't know anything else, so I called, And I was like, I just need to come downstairs and find you because I don't know where anyone else is. And I called Maddie, I called Xana, I called Kaylee, no one would answer.
Okay, let's go back. I just want to make sure we're getting everything. So you're sure at about 4 this morning?
Yes, it was 4:10.
You first noticed a guy.
Well, I first noticed Kaylee go upstairs and scream and run downstairs.
So 4 this morning, went upstairs.
Yeah.
To the way top.
Yes, to her room. With Murphy, the dog.
Okay. And then you heard Kaylee scream?
I heard her scream and run as fast as she could downstairs. And she said, someone's here.
She ran downstairs?
Yes, I could hear, you can hear everything. Pretty much. I heard her run downstairs really fast. And then I heard Murphy barking a lot.
Okay.
And then I heard her go into I think it was the bathroom, and I remember her sobbing, and I just remember hearing this guy's voice that I didn't recognize saying, you're going to be okay, I'm going to help you. But it wasn't like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it wasn't in like a nice way, it was like a weird way, like a weird tone.
You're going to be okay. I'm going to help you.
Yeah, I also was kind of in and out of it because I was so scared and I was really tired. And that's when I called and I told her, I need to come to your room because she was the only one that was answering me. So I just ran down there, and for a second I stopped and I saw Xana passed out, and I thought maybe she was just like sleeping or something. I didn't think anything because I was so out of it. And I went into the room and we just fell asleep.
Very eerie there, Vinny. You heard her say there towards the end that as she was headed down to the other surviving roommate's room, Bethany Funk, that she stopped and saw Xana passed out, but unbeknownst to her, Xana was actually stabbed to death laying in that room.
There is a lot in there. There's a lot of new information. Cody Thomas, thanks. You're going to stick around. All this new information, this new body cam video, brings us to the question that we're asking throughout this program, which is, what does the newly released Idaho body cam reveal? Here to help answer that question, retired police commander, host of the podcast Profiling Evil, Mike King, and clinical and forensic psychologist, body language expert, Dr. John Paul Garrison. Dr. G, thank you both. Mike, Kaylee is running up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
What do you think there's a chase underway here? What are you taking away from this? What is this revealing to you, this description that I've never heard quite this way before?
Yeah, Vinny, I this is just, you can see why this was so traumatic for the kids who survived this thing. What it tells me is that probably things were well underway at this point in the game, and Kaylee stumbles across what's happening. And in this course of either trying to get up to her room to safety or then come down, it kind of makes me feel like Kohberger undoubtedly pursued her up the stairs. And whether there were assaults, because we haven't really seen what the forensics tell us in regard to whether there were any indications of trauma upstairs, but clearly in that second level, then she is murdered. And what it also tells me is that this is a period of time where he's starting to lose control and lose whatever organization he may have believed that he had going into this crime, because we then know that he quickly exits the home and at that point leaves. That leaves the more frightening question to me of, would he have continued on had he not become disorganized at that point?
Dr. G, there was one statement that was made there by Dylan that really stuck with me. As she goes down and is with the other roommate, she says, we're telling ourselves nothing happens in Moscow. Nothing happens in Moscow. What are you seeing and what are you hearing? What's being revealed to you from this new interview with Dylan Mortensen?
That line is exactly what stood out to me as well, because this does not match these kids' reality. The idea that their friends were murdered or that somebody could be in there doing these things, it's understandable that they didn't call the police sooner because it just didn't make sense to them. I don't think any part of them acknowledged that they were looking at someone who was dead. They assumed that she was passed out. So this, to me, suggests they really dissociated during this, that you detach from reality a little bit because you can't process something this horrible happening.
Dr. G, how about the future for this young woman? What are your thoughts? I mean, those are the concerns that all of us have.
Yeah, the trauma that comes with something like this, that's when something happens that's so shocking, that's, like I said, such a different aspect of your reality that abstractly you know murders happen, but nobody ever expects to come face to face with something like this. So there are going to be years of trauma trying to process and deal with this, and hopefully they're able to talk about it, whether it's with a therapist, family, friends, to just continue to talk about this until some of the feelings start to go away, because that type of shock, there's nothing that really is analogous to what that does to the human mind, because that's as far from what we're meant to process as anything.
Dr. John Paul Garrison, thank you so much. Dr. G, appreciate it. Mike's going to stick around. Still to come, more of the video, including the interview with the second surviving roommate.
But I wasn't even really sure because I was kind of still asleep, so I wasn't sure if it was like real.
Monday.
This case was unlike a normal murder case.
Before the new season of Victim to Verdict, catch up on every episode of Court TV's original true crime series.
Did she ever believe that she was ever going to get away with it?
Featuring the most compelling cases. People are dug in on both sides with every twist and turn.
She killed my daughter, and he marries her.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. Marathon begins Monday morning, 8/7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
You're gonna go to hell. I know people believe in other stuff. You're evil. There's no place for you in heaven. You took our children. You are gonna suffer, man. I'm shaking because I want to reach out to you, but I hope you feel my energy, okay? Go to hell.
That was Xana's stepdad, Randy Davis, at the sentencing. We're taking a look at this newly released video. Cody Thomas, Court TV field reporter, is with us. What is the next section that you have for us?
Well, Vinny, we've now gotten towards the end of the video where the officer now interviews the second surviving roommate, Bethany Funk. And Vinny, remember that Bethany's room is on that very bottom floor. So her perspective and her recounting of what happened that night is very interesting. Take a listen.
Okay, so you guys watching Vampire Diaries up in this the second level? Okay, and then for how long?
I don't know. And then Maddie and Kaylee came home from the club. And then we all hung out and came for a little, like 2.
So they did get home at 2?
Ish.
How do you know that?
I just have a picture in Kaylee's room with Murphy.
Okay, then what happened after that?
And then me and Maddie took out Murphy, and then...
Murphy's the dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went inside to go to bed, and she was still taking him out. And then I was in my bed, like, about to go to sleep, and Maddie just said that she lost Murphy. Like, she was, like, and was wondering if he was with me, and I just said no. And then we went to bed.
And what time do you think you fell asleep?
Maybe 2:30.
Did you wake up at all between 2 and...
I heard something like loud and Murphy like bark. Like usually like he barks at things. And then I thought I saw like a firecracker, so I thought someone maybe was just drunk and like put a firecracker in the house. But I wasn't even really sure because I was kind of still asleep, so I wasn't sure if it was like real.
So, Vinny, just another look inside the horror and honestly the confusion that these young women were experiencing inside that house that night.
Yeah, and I think all along, Murphy, we were wondering, Murphy the dog, and yeah, he was making a lot of noise. Cody Thomas, thanks so much. And again, we're continuing to take a look at this. Let's bring in our guest to help us in our investigation, retired police commander Mike King, and also joining us now, retired FBI agent Stuart Fillmore. Stuart, I'll begin with you. She is one of the survivors, but she's on that bottom floor. Heard some noise, firecrackers. That one I don't quite understand, but it seems that she was cognizant of something happening, but I don't think from that bottom floor you're necessarily gonna, because I don't think the killer ever went down to that floor.
Right. Yeah, and I think, Vinny, one of the things that I take from this is clearly she's upset. I mean, she's this is probably the worst thing she's ever going to experience in her life. And it's so what I think she's describing is, you know, she's hearing these noises. At the time, she's probably just frustrated, just, you know, oh my gosh, you know, what's going on? Someone, you know, throwing a firecracker in the house. I don't think maybe at that point she, you know, sensed any danger, just more annoyance. But, you know, you have to kind of sort through that because clearly she's so upset.
And Mike, the other thing, her description, it is a normal night for them, a very normal night. They're coming back at 2 a.m. They're going out having fun, taking Murphy out, right? You take the dog out. What is this revealing to you?
I think that's really an important aspect of all of this, Vinny, is the fact that this is, in her words, a normal night. So it wouldn't be out of reach for someone to just go to bed, even though there's commotion or noise going on. I think you said it in an earlier segment that this house has wooden floors. So it's probably a house that really echoes and makes a lot of noise anyway. And again, we don't know if she was listening to music on her phone or in her room or other kinds of things. But the key here is that people coming and going sound like it was kind of a normal thing, even to the point that if you saw someone you didn't quite recognize, you may just pass it off and just say it's another person hanging out with the rest of the group.
You know, Stuart, most college students don't have dogs, and there was a dog. Do you think the killer knew that he could potentially be encountering a dog on this home invasion?
Yeah, you know, Vinny, this is one of the things that has really perplexed me about this whole thing is how, you know, when Kohberger goes in there, I mean, he may have known the layout from some real estate videos of, you know, that are done trying to rent this place out. So he might possibly have known the layout through that. But he did not know what he's going to encounter. I mean, this had been a football day. You know, there could have been 15 kids in there, you know, celebrating, partying, who knows? You know, so yeah, I mean, a dog is one of the things that could seriously complicate his plans and cause him to go into that, you know, this organization.
Yeah, may have saved a couple of lives. Appreciate your time, Stuart Fillmore, Mike King. Great to see you both. Thank you so much. You know, there is a reason why public records need to be made public. In this case, a mass murderer was given a plea deal. Now, this was a crime that devastated a community, took 4 innocent lives, and the question is, was that the right decision to give that plea deal? Well, the only way to figure it out is to release the public records to the public. The question is, will public officials do that? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.